All right, so if you've been paying attention to Amber Heard's best friend, Eve Barlow, her social media, then you will have seen that Eve has been criticizing, just recently began criticizing the actress Evan Rachel Wood. And Eve is upset because Evan Rachel Wood, this past week, past several days, she has been posting furiously, I said at a furious rate, about this correlation that people have attempted to draw between her and Amber Heard. She is well aware of the fact that the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trial, that was a precedent in the sense that it changed public attitudes, I think, and it shone a light on the very real problem of false allegations. And it showed that you could have an actress, a successful actress, who could, in order to burnish her Me Too activist credentials or for her own personal reasons, however complicated they may be, could put together a kind of a hoax against an innocent man, or a man who at least was innocent of the things that he's being accused of. And so I think that I and a number of others think that that Evan Rachel Wood, I didn't do that on purpose, that Evan Rachel Wood is having a kind of a freak out. Well, I think that we have figured out why she's having a kind of a freak out, and why Evan Rachel Wood has been furiously posting, arguing with people, saying there's not, people have it wrong, there's not a connection between me and Amber Heard. And I don't think that that's something that most of us have been arguing. I think that what we've been saying is that the Amber Heard situation was a kind of a precedent. And isn't it interesting that these women ran in similar circles? And, I've talked to some sources who won't go on record who said that at some point they were hanging out and really close. I think that, this whole thing with Marilyn Manson, this hoax against him, it has been a kind of a perfect storm of a confluence of a number of different events and personalities and motivations. Very complicated, more complicated than the Amber Heard Johnny Depp situation. And so I think there are a number of levels, a number of ways to interpret it. And certainly one of them could be with what we've just come through with Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, with that as a kind of a lens or a filter through which to see these events. And Evan Rachel Wood knows that, and she doesn't like that. And also, I believe that she knows that she's guilty of a hoax, like the one that Amber Heard constructed. And she must feel like at least some of us, and it's not just me, but it's some other people, are increasingly hip to this. So I think we know why she's been kind of freaking out this week. Marilyn Manson's legal team just dropped what I think is a pretty significant in all of this. As far as legal stuff goes, you read it and it's all couched in, it's like, legalese and very proper language and everything, right? And so you really have to kind of think about what's being said. And it's like, wow, that's pretty crazy. So what I wanted to do, since this is like hot off the presses, right? This was made available just today. It was made available this morning, and I paid the fees. This stuff costs money, so I paid the $100. It's fine. To get these documents and see. And so apparently tomorrow, Friday, there's a significant evidentiary hearing, and I'm not even going to try to get into it because Andrea Burkhart, and I'm going to have a link to her channel in my description of my comments. She's like the legal expert for the Marilyn Manson case. Well, she's not like she is, right? And she can explain all of this legal stuff, right? So I'm not even going to try. But here's the point. In the lead up to this hearing that's going to be tomorrow, this Friday hearing, there were a number of filings by Marilyn Manson's team, by his side, and a number of really, I think, kind of jaw-dropping aspects to these new filings, all right? A number of jaw-dropping revelations. So first of all, what I want to do is I just want to go through these briefly, and I just want to say that I'm going to post what I think are some of the most significant aspects, some of the most significant documents that have just come out. I'm going to post excerpts of those on my Twitter and on my Instagram, but I'm not going to post like all of the documents. I want to go through and I want to make sure there are no addresses or people's names or anything. I don't want to out anybody or dox anybody or anything like that, right? And so, but in due time, these will be made available. And of course, they're available if anyone wants to do a search themselves. It just requires, you know, a little effort and some money. But anyway, my point is I will have some of this so you can see that it's legit, some of this up there, but anybody can find these these documents and these lawsuits, okay? All right, so here's the thing. We knew from the lawsuit that Manson filed several months ago, that Brian Warner, aka Marilyn Manson, filed several months ago, that the twin sister of Ilma Gore, and Ilma Gore, remember, is Evan Rachel Wood's ex-girlfriend, and she plays a prominent role in that documentary, Phoenix Rising. She is a huge element, as it turns out, in the story, because when she and Evan became friends and started hanging out and then became lovers, apparently this really, it was a strong motivating factor in the shift in Evan's perspective toward Marilyn Manson, and the shift in Evan's personality, and all of these activist oriented activities that she began to participate in, and going before Congress and getting this Phoenix Act passed and all of that, right? So anyway, here's the point that I'm making. Manson is suing not only Evan Rachel Wood, but suing Ilma Gore, because Ilma Gore participated in all of these attempts to frame him in this hoax, which had many dimensions. And if you want to know more about it, look at my explanation video, a summary of the case and the evidence that I have linked below. I don't have time to get into it here, but this is what we find out in these new documents. The sister of Ilma Gore says that she saw Ilma, this is the co-conspirator of Evan Rachel Wood, and she's saying this under oath, these are sworn declarations, that she saw Ilma drafting a fake FBI letter and with a real FBI agent's name, but a fake FBI letter. I've talked about it in my other shows, but that would attest to the fact that Marilyn Manson was the subject of an investigation, and that Evan Rachel Wood was an important witness, etc., etc. Evan Rachel Wood wanted this for several reasons: to recruit women to go after Manson, and also to try to win a custody dispute with actor Jamie Bell, the father of her child. Well, so anyway, she says that she saw Ilma Gore, her sister, working on this and even signing this fake FBI letter. She confronted her about it, asked her about it, and Ilma said, yeah, well, basically kind of shrugged it off and said, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. It's not a big deal. And then the sister ends up confronting Evan Rachel Wood herself and says, hey, do you know that, hey, what about this drafting of this fake FBI letter and stuff? Like, this doesn't seem right. And Evan gave her this really just dumbfounding response. Evan basically, to paraphrase, and I'll have the documents online on my Twitter and Instagram and stuff, but Evan basically says, oh, it would be terrible if this ever got out. It would be terrible for women, for our movement, right? In other words, this ends justify the means. And I'm telling you, this attitude, in my opinion, my analysis of this case, and of a number of others, this attitude of Evans, this is one of the motivating factors in why she would lie about Marilyn Manson, why she would invent these abuse narratives, is because in her mind, and y'all know this, okay? Y'all, it's like this Daenerys Targaryen syndrome of the last season of Game of Thrones. I'm serious. She has this belief in the purity of her object, right, which is to be this activist, and I don't doubt that probably something at some point with someone else happened to her, but it wasn't Marilyn Manson. Her story has shifted over time. And I think that, though, she really thinks, just like she says, well, it would damage the movement, you know, if you told anyone. She says, don't tell anybody, right? It would damage the movement. I think that she thinks that she has license to do whatever, even if it means making up BS stories about Marilyn Manson to sell this image and to sell this narrative. And he's a great boogeyman because of that image that he cultivated. All right. She and here's the thing, they include all of this different evidence that the sister has, you know, from, and some of this we've seen before, like the checklists that they use, that they would give these women a checklist of abusive behaviors, you know, to suggest to these women what they could attest that Marilyn Manson did to them. You know, notes between the two of them where, you know, Ilma says one of her goals with this is to make money, and etc., etc. But importantly, it's this process with the FBI letter. Now, there's also in this, there's a new declaration by Marilyn Manson, and I'm not going to get into that. I think that the excellent website, Marilyn Manson Uncanceled, you can also find him on Instagram and Twitter. He has a lot of great commentary on this case. I think he's going to provide that or get more into that. But Marilyn Manson basically just repeating, like, you know, I didn't do these things. Now, there was one thing, though, that I did want to mention from this declaration that I thought was particularly interesting, was where Manson asserts that he had a couple of, he had a few female friends, you know, old friends of his. They were in a music video of his. It was called the End of the World. It was documenting a tour that he was on. Anyway, so there were these women that were a part of this and friends of his, and what he discusses in one part of this declaration is the attempt by Evan Rachel Wood and people associated with her to try to aggressively recruit these women. And this is the same thing that we get in other narratives of other women. For instance, one of the declarations in these new court filings is a declaration under oath by a woman that most of us know as the YouTuber Greta Aurora, who did have a brief sexual fling with Marilyn Manson and said that not only was he a gentleman, but she had to be the aggressor in making it happen and everything. And they tried to recruit her. Evan Rachel Wood and Ilma Gore tried to recruit her. And I know that a number of us already know this, but I'm just saying this is something really significant that, and thank you, Greta Aurora, okay, that you were willing to go on the record with this. And it's under a different name, but that's not my job to out her. I think that Greta has already declared what her real name is, but again, I'm not going to say it. We get in these new filings, we have the inclusion of a number of excerpts from the custody dispute between Evan Rachel Wood and Jamie Bell. So, you know, I was already working on a pretty extensive video about this because there are a lot of documents related to it. But what Marilyn Manson's team did is they went in and they picked out the specific short excerpts, you know, like a page or two or whatever from the Jamie Bell custody dispute. And basically what it shows is what I've said before, that Jamie Bell was very, very skeptical of Evan Rachel Wood's stories and fears about Marilyn Manson. And also, and I thought this was pretty jaw-dropping, that Evan Rachel Wood was basically kind of poisoning her son to be afraid of Brian. You know, Jamie Bell said that he was on with the phone with his son, with his and Evan's son at one point, and his son seemed rather glum, and Jamie Bell was like, "What's up?" or "Do you want to do such and such?" And basically the kid was like, "I can't do anything fun until Brian is locked up," or whatever. And Jamie, in these court documents, was outraged about that. So we get, and at one point says that Evan's claims, you know, defy credibility and all of that, and was really deeply grieved and upset about how Evan was keeping him away from his son. So again, this is stuff that some of us have known about. It's been sort of simmering below, and one Daily Mail article alluded to some of it, but to actually have Manson's team now putting this out there is significant. Now, another thing that's interesting, Manson's team, and I think this is one of the most powerful parts of the document, of the filing that they've put together recently. They provide a pretty brilliant, very, very precise understanding of how this fake FBI letter that Evan Rachel Wood and Ilma Gore devised, the process in pretty good detail of how this happened, and also the different ways in which they verified that it happened, okay? Because this is one of the critiques that I've been getting a lot online. People saying, why are you taking Manson's team at their word when they say that there was this FBI letter that Evan Rachel Wood was giving people? Well, and I said, no, they went through a methodical process of tracking this down. For one thing, and they talk about this in the lawsuit, Evan Rachel Wood included that fake letter herself in her custody dispute with Jamie Bell. So she actually provided it. But then they also, Manson's team, they tracked down the real FBI agent, the one who was being impersonated. Now, here's something interesting that we haven't heard before, okay? Apparently, in the lawsuit, it says that the FBI agent who said that the letter was a forgery, and that this agent they'd never had any involvement with, with the Marilyn Manson situation or anything. But they said that they had been involved in a case related to 2 other team members of the Phoenix Rising organization. So remember, we've talked about how Evan Rachel Wood got the Phoenix Act. Evan Rachel Wood got this bill passed. It became a law. It was called the Phoenix Act, and it's the inspiration for the title Phoenix Rising of her documentary. And so anyway, there was some kind of problem or harassment case or something involving a couple of members of that team, the Phoenix Act team organization. And so here's the point, basically, is that this is where Ilma Gore and Evan Rachel Wood would have gotten the inspiration for whose name to use, right? Because they wanted to type up this fake FBI letter that they could use to recruit women to go after Manson, and also that Evan Rachel Wood could use to get a leg up in her custody dispute. And so it would make it more effective, though, if they actually had like someone who was a real agent and who was really involved in stuff like this. And so they put the real name in there, but they put a fake phone number. And one of the things that comes out in the custody dispute between Jamie Bell and Evan Rachel Wood, Jamie Bell attests to the fact that he was very frustrated because he kept calling the number and he wouldn't get an answer. And then finally, Evan Rachel Wood was like, "Oh, I think something like, I think it's a different number, so try this number." And so he tries that number, and then he ends up someone getting back to him on he ends up hitting a voicemail, and it's plainly not the right number. It really was just so bizarre. It reminded me of that movie Shattered Glass. Probably none of you have seen that movie. It's such a great movie. I love it, and a true story. But the lengths that some of these personalities will go to, these devious, manipulative, narcissistic personalities will go to to deceive, because they so think that they can mold reality to, like Amber Heard, that they can mold reality to their desires and their truth, like the emperor doesn't have, like the emperor has clothes on, and they just think that if they keep like bullying people, or if they just, keep their eyes fixed on the road or whatever, that eventually people will see the clothes, even though they're not on. Okay. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff, honestly. And I think, let me see if anything else. So this is stuff that Marilyn Manson Uncanceled is going to address, I believe, and probably, honestly, someone else that you should look at is, if you haven't before, Stand By Your Manson. I'm sure they'll be getting into the Ashley Morgan Smith line text, and wow, there's some jaw-dropping stuff in that. Some of the things that she admits to, I'll just say basically, there was one of the Manson accusers that has turned out to be honestly a huge thorn in the side of the other Manson accusers, because she's flubbed up several things. This was the one who posted the fake Pinterest photos as her evidence at one point on Instagram. Well, anyway, apparently she got into a verifiable conversation with someone else, a private conversation on social media, and she admitted some things that she shouldn't have admitted to. And I'll just tease you with that, because it's not good for her, and it's not good for them. And so, like I said, check out Stand By Your Manson, check out Marilyn Manson Uncanceled in the next few hours, the next day or so, because they'll have stuff like that up. And I just want to say, finally, last thing I want to say, I think this is really important, is that this is the first time that I believe that we got a formal declaration from Paula, aka Paula Weiss, who was the model who was in the kind of experimental Marilyn Manson film, the Notorious film Groupie. And going on record, thank you, Paula, has gone on record in this legal declaration and has said a number of things. So what has come to light is not only the fact that it was a total lie that a number of these accusers kept spreading, that Paula was underage or that she was abused in any way. She wasn't underage. It was perfectly fine shoot. She enjoyed it. She was paid for it. There are people around, and she was not underage. She was in her 20s. But this lie was spread by a number of the accusers, including several of them in their lawsuits against Manson, where they were going after him for big bucks. And all four of them claiming to have repressed memories, right? 4 grown women in their 20s repressing something that they don't remember until finally Evan Rachel Wood starts talking about her abuse, and they have this like, oh my God, this running up that hill moment. Oh, I see now, I see. Come on, give me a break. Where was I going with that? I don't know. Oh, and so Paula, thank you for coming forward in this legal declaration and showing that that was bunk. And here's the thing I want to leave a lot of you with. They have been, what's come out in these recent court filings as well, which I think is very jaw-dropping, is that Evan Rachel Wood and Ilma and people associated with them have been, but particularly it seems Ilma, were spreading this lie persistently in LA, in Hollywood, or in their different, artsy circles, spreading this lie, okay, that Manson had engaged in an act of child pornography on video and had taped it, and that it was this groupie video. And this was also the time, apparently, when Ilma Gore was trying to basically download and send out illicit pornography to frame Manson. She hacked his accounts. This is something else that he alleges. So this is some really, really deeply nefarious, just nasty, gross stuff that they were trying to pin on him. And this Ilma Gore is a really gross human being. And it's one of the things that really comes out much more strongly in these recent court documents. So, yeah. So the fact that Paula came forward and said, yeah, this was not anything like that. Ilma, also stop lying about me as you have been doing persistently. I think that was the message that I took from it. Anyway, there's going to be a lot more. I'm going to get into these documents. I'm going to really break them down. I hope to do an interview with Andrea. You should go to her channel in the next few days or so. I'm sure she'll be posting stuff. Hopefully we can do something together. Check out Marilyn Manson Uncanceled during the next couple of days. Check out Stand By Your Manson online. Check out the Manson cases online. I'm going to provide links to all of these. I forgot to last time, but I'm going to do it this time below. And as always, like and subscribe. And I'm going to try to have do a Marilyn Manson marathon where I get into these legal documents and also some other stuff that I've been working on. Okay. So yeah, everybody, thanks a lot, and bye-bye. Oh, and check out Greta Aurora's YouTube channel. Thank you so much, Greta. And yeah, bye-bye.